We will continue to work on moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. I'll ask for an adoption of the minutes, please.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on October 10th, 2023 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Doyle, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no delegations this evening. Wow. No public hearings. We'll move right into Finance, Legislative and Property Committee. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship. Finance, Legislative and Property Committee has no report this evening.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning Economic Development Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Community Services Committee has nothing to report at this point in the meeting.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has nothing to report at this portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Safety Committee has nothing to report in council tonight.
Excellent. So we have no deferred business. We'll move right into new business, and always a great time of the year, and we'll see quarterly reports tonight. So we will start with City Planning and Economic Development, third quarter report. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship, and of course an organization I'm extremely proud of as well. And I'd like to call up Eve O'Leary, Director of Economic Development. Eve?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Very excited to be here for quarter three. I know we were very excited in quarter one, but even more excited in quarter three because we're finally getting to see a lot of the projects that we had planned for last year take in fruition. So as you know, PRED is a champion for economic development, taking that regional initiative between the RM and the city. So a little bit about Portage la Prairie regional economic development you'll see on page 2. So really focusing on that concierge service that we're providing to our investors and our community and stakeholders. So really taking focus on economic development best practices. There's a little bit there in our report on who is PRED and what are the services that we offer. So economic development, environmental scans, pathfinding, tourism, and a variety of other areas. We have a little bit of a section on our board of directors, and PRED will be hiring an 8th board member in early 2024. And then a little bit on our strategic plan. So you will see out in the community, PRED has a QR code for the regional economic development strategy that was kicked off this week. So we're doing very heavy amount of community engagement between now and February. So please log on to investinportage.ca and check out our QR code in the news, and really thankful to all our organizational partners that have promoted that across the community. A little bit about the Portage Economic Response Team. So again, a regional approach to doing economic development, but outside of the municipal parameters. So with the Chamber of Commerce, Southport, City RM, Community Futures, and PRED, we all take that regional approach to providing a great place to invest in our community. A little bit about investment attraction. You will see that we have a variety of land and parcels for sale, and PRED is heavily focused on promoting the Macmillan and Poplar Bluff Industrial Park. And then you will see there our new community profile was launched. So we're trying to make our reports very interactive, so you'll see interactive tools on page 8. So up-to-date data, and then really focusing on the advantage of Portage la Prairie as a place to invest. The City of Portage la Prairie hosted Developers Day in 2023. It was a great success. We've heard nothing but great feedback, and people are very excited about Developers Day 2024. So we're excited to support that event again. And then just a little bit on commercial business development. You'll see on social media we've been heavily campaigning, what do you want to see in Portage la Prairie? And we're trying to take that proactive approach. So we focused a little bit on Main Street, and then we kind of focused a little bit on the mall. So really trying to engage people for hashtag #MyPortageWishlist. Also in Q3, Portage la Prairie supports the Taiwanese delegation with DOTC. It was a very successful event, and we were very privileged to be able to support the event. And thank you to all our partners that came out and promoted our community. In our report, you'll also see a update on Azure Sustainable Fuels Corporation, the $1.9 billion SAF facility that is hopefully coming to Portage la Prairie in 2026. So just a little bit of an update to the community on where the community is or where the project is in terms of progress. And then you'll see our Portage Regional Tourism Committee, and that really focuses on the regional approach to tourism. Kelly Verway is our tourism coordinator and has been doing up a storm in terms of getting a lot of those projects finished. So installation of the Island on the Prairies regional tourist attraction signs, generating sales and merchandise, and then the award for the tourism economic impact assessment was launched last month as well. So we're very excited to see the return of investment for tourism as an economic driver in our region. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Ms. O'Leary? Comments? Councillor Porter?
I'd just like to say, Ms. O'Leary, that your report was very interactive and really enjoyed it, and that's a lot about our region. So thank you very much for that.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship, and same to echo Councillor Porter's comments. Just between you and your staff, the energy and the passion, the knowledge that you show and the dedication to this organization will continue to help us make us one of the gold standards within the region. Thanks a lot, Ms. O'Leary.
I just have one question. My favorite topic. What were some of the ideas for the mall?
For the mall, we had Costco, a better mall, less construction, was a lot of from the youth, but no, really focused on more coffee stores, retail. I always say, I know council loves to have twinkly stars, so we do throw that in as well. So a lot more retail and coffee shops and more experiential experiences for sure.
Excellent. Thank you. Hope it comes to fruition. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to Community Services Committee. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. First up is the third quarter report for the PCRC, and through Your Worship, I would like to call upon Executive Director Mary Kozar to present her report.
Thank you. Through the summer months, we had a number of events that took place. The local immigration partnership program held a free swim event with our Connecting Community program, and that was a full capacity event. We have also had 5 families now approved for the first time homebuyer program, so that's exciting news. The PLIP program has been preparing for a Diwali event at the beginning of November, and we did have 2 staff move on to other organizations to become executive directors, which we're excited to work with them in other capacities. We've been working on some strategic planning through PLIP and Chamber Business Awards for Outstanding Newcomer Award. And the PLIP program also supported the September 30th event at the National Indigenous Residential School Museum, which was a large partnership event and saw a huge turnout. Communities Building Youth Futures held a Youth Fun Fest in July, which saw 30 youth participate in different community building activities. They've also been keeping the Portage Resource Guide up to date and working on a number of youth hub applications through different funding streams that have become available. They also supported the September 23rd land-based learning event and gave out Indigenous youth wellness kits that they received a grant for. The community facilitator has been supporting Kim Wickdahl in fundraising for the wheelchair accessible swing, and that included the Homestead Co-op Fuel Good Days, which raised $3,200 for her ventures, and again supporting the Parks Committee, which has been very successful this year, and the Bear Clan. So there was a $5,000 grant received from Community Celebrations, which is a provincial grant fund for their fall equinox feast. And the community facilitator was the lead in planning the Land That Gives Life gathering on September 23rd. That saw 130 people come out to enjoy land-based learning in the rain. And we also had a lot of internal support from the community facilitator. And we executed Communities in Bloom once again, which we'll hear more about in committee tonight. There was a gardening tour in July, which was a sold-out event. It was a partnership for the Holiday Avenue project to fundraise for their decorating, and they raised over $2,700. We also had the green team with us again this summer. So they covered up 33 pieces of graffiti and did 27 garbage cleanups, along with watering the duck pond on the island for 13 weeks. Wowokia was busy with client work through the summer, and through our food security project, that program was able to partner with the school division, and they assisted with 27 families who would have been food insecure through the summer months, and provided them with 2 hampers, 1 each month. So that was huge. Alexa is also helping with the community safety and well-being planning that the city is participating in. Reaching Home has housed many families over the last quarter, and over July, they saw 200 walk-in visits at PCRC. So they assist walk-in visitors with housing, ID, food, clothing vouchers through MCC, and other support. And the Urban Indigenous Strategy saw a new coordinator take over in September, and he helped assist with the September 30th event at Nursum, and also was invited to McCain's to do a smudge teaching with their employees, and provided orange t-shirts to all the kids in public daycare for September 30th. And our Indigenous Seniors Resource Coordinator has been busy with client work and connecting our urban Indigenous seniors to necessary supports that they might need, and also helped with a TP raising at West End Daycare. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Ms. Kozar? Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship. Not a question, but I was happy to attend your annual meeting recently, and your chair, James Kostachuk, stepped down. And of course, just from my perspective, I just hope, and I know a number of our colleagues on council know him, he's given a lot to your organization, and I just want to say a really big thank you to James for all the work he's done on that on your board.
Thank you. We have been very well supported from James Kostachuk, and we feel like we have a good transition plan to our new chair, Mark Dyball.
Nice. Thank you. I have 2 questions, Mary. So the graffiti program, does that only happen in the summertime?
Yes, it does. So we get funding through the City of Portage for supplies through our annual grant that we apply for. And then we get summer student funding for the summer. And we actually only received funding for 1 student this summer. And so we had to look for internal grant funding. So we used Indigenous Services Canada COVID Relief Fund to fund an Indigenous summer student to partner on that project, because we can't run it with only 1 student for safety purposes.
Right. So would you have, like, I wish graffiti was only a summer problem. Do you have tips for businesses if they do get their building graffitied? Like maybe we could give out or something to businesses?
Sure, we could certainly come up with like a tip sheet and products that we typically use.
Yeah, awesome. Then my next question is, I was in your office recently for a meeting and you had a lot of supplies of fresh vegetables. Is that community donations that help you through that?
Yes. Well, so anytime that the Salvation Army has surplus food at the end of the day, they'll do an agency call out list. So if we have the capacity to go out and pick things up, we will from them. And we know that other organizations also access it, so we don't try and tap into it all the time. But when we know we have people who need food, we'll go get things and pass them along to clients.
Awesome. Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mary, once again, thank you so much for all the work that the PCR does for the community. And the next report is the third quarter report from the Heritage Advisory Committee, as submitted by Mr. James Kostychuk. First up, summer student activities. Our summer students were loaned to us by the St. Claude Regional Archive. The St. Claude Archive paid for their services. We were fortunate to have them. I provided them with materials for the PCI archive to digitize. Madison Poitras, she scanned 9 boxes of envelopes containing over 18,000 Vopni Press photo negatives and newspaper clippings from 1978 to 1982. Including her previous work, she has scanned over 35,000 photo negatives and newspaper clippings. She also fully digitized 36 PCI yearbooks spanning from 1938 to 2009. Deborah Adeni. Deborah completed most of her work for the St. Claude Archive, but contributed to the yearbook project and transcribed a pioneer diary. Second item, our committee met with representatives of the Portage Heritage Incorporated to discuss a potential merger. As a group, we agreed that a merger would be in the best interests of both organizations. Follow-up meetings will discuss details to move forward. Matthew LaCroix was paid for the final installment of his digitization project. A provincial heritage grant supported his work. The new Crescent Lake heritage signs should be installed shortly. The content is fresh and we hope that people enjoy them. Work will continue this winter for the second edition of the Portage la Prairie photographs. This is the book that will be a fundraiser for the Portage Hospital Foundation. We expect to publish in 2025 when the new hospital opens. I appeared on the camera for the Super Channel series, Fishing for History. I provided some historical background information on Fort Lorraine. Our committee continues to work closely with Emma Enns McIver at the Fort Lorraine Museum. She has an excellent understanding of our region's heritage needs and provides informed guidance. As much as possible, local heritage products will be better served if we operate as a group and share expertise. Greg Roberts is sourcing an appropriate light for the Lundy Memorial Fountain at Island Park. This light will be funded from our book sales account. The Indigenous Signs Project, for which we received a provincial grant, is currently on hold, owing to staffing changes with our partners at PCRC. I will be uploading the summer student work to Manitoba Historical Photographs over the coming weeks. There are 25,000 images related to Portage la Prairie already uploaded. This is a remarkable achievement, largely completed by local volunteers. Our summer student, Madison Poitras, has done tremendous heritage work for our city over the past few years. I would like to acknowledge her commitment to preserving our history. As I wrap up as chair of the Heritage Advisory Committee, I want to thank Diane Van Art for her professionalism and kindness and wrangling our little group over the years. You couldn't ask for a better person to represent our city.
Thank you. Any questions on the Heritage Committee report? Just for when the item about the fishing for history, it was a magnet fishing expedition behind the water treatment plant. So it'll be interesting to see it when it comes out. I didn't know magnet fishing was a thing. Okay, keep going there, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. It is a big thing, and I actually had several water treatment plant staff ask me what was going on, and I didn't know either. Next report, and I'd like to point out that the Portage Parks Committee is here tonight and will present in committee, but this is the third quarter report. Activities completed. PPC completed the planning phase of the Rotary Skate Park. Activities to begin this quarter, continuing fundraising for Simple at Central Park, continuing ongoing planning towards development of Simple at Central Park, continued to work with Portage Citizen towards getting wheelchair accessible swings. Transition construction began construction of the Rotary Skate Park in September 2023. Began planning for sponsor signage throughout the park. And the goals for the next quarter, complete construction of Rotary Skate Park.
Any questions on Parks Committee at this time? Hmm? One more, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is the third quarter report for the Public Art Committee, and I would also like to point out that we will hear from the Public Art Committee in committee. So activities completed this quarter. Committee has submitted budget final proposal chosen for council approval. Committee has referred to all parties necessary to firm up a final proposal budget and also consulted with Parks Committee to ensure their blessing on moving forward pursuing a project. We have gone back and forth with Kevin McKenzie to flesh out questions such as safety issues and installation. And the goal for the next quarter is to receive approval to commence stage 1 of concept and construction. That would be it.
Thank you. Any question for Public Art at this time? Thank you, Councillor Espy. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. At this time, I would like to call upon our Public Safety Director to either give the report for bylaw or introduce the contractor for bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. At this time, I'd like to call up Kyle from Serious Protection, our bylaw contractor, to give report.
How's that?
Perfect.
We have been busy in the third quarter, nearly doubled our calls and tripled it from previous years. We had an influx of 654 calls per service, 47 animals impounded with a total of $37,975 in revenue created from parking tickets, and bylaw-related offenses. Finally been able to start moving animals out of the animal retention facility, keeping our numbers down. We've had a couple citizens in town help us really well with Winnipeg Rescues. They've kind of spoken for us, and they've been able to speed up the process for animals. So I believe numbers are 2 more going out tomorrow, so we'll have 3 in facility, which is great. And great for the help too. PAWS has been helping us out tremendously with that as well. Other than that, she's been very busy cleaning up properties. That's my report. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Adamski? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship, and of course, Your Worship, through Chair Public Safety Officer, and of course to Mr. Adamski. Thank you for the report. It's not really I guess it is a question. It's just, obviously, month over month, they see quite a significant increase, and your report does address it a little bit, but from August 2023 to September 2023. Is that because we're seeing more violations? I mean, I'm not a big fan of collecting fines for the sake of collecting fines, although we do collect them for a specific reason. Are you seeing more violations, or are we just doing a better enforcement job of it?
I think it's both. We are seeing a lot more violations, like calls for service almost doubled. So with that, there's going to be extra fines or cleanups or fines associated with that. And then officers are on the street a lot more. So 50-50.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. So just out of curiosity, now that we're going to be changing seasons here, and I mean, for properties, a lot of focus on unsightly properties for grass, etc. What changes now in a new season for your officers?
We'll be focusing on snow removal routes, making sure the streets stay clear so that graders can get down for ops. And ensuring they're clean so the public can access the roads rather than going over mounds of snow and snowdrifts. So I just hope that white stuff stays away.
Yeah, and I think we're committed to, as a council, to get that message out there about the snow removal routes. And we especially heard last year in the downtown area of people maybe who don't live but work down and don't understand when vehicles have to be moved. And I think when we did enforce that more last year, we heard real positive things from citizens in the community when their street was actually cleaned
Yeah.
better. So, yeah. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Doyle?
Thank you, Mr. Adamski. Now I'd like to call on Sergeant Turco and Staff Sergeant Vachon to give the RCMP third quarter report.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So this quarter, we've been up in a few different areas, down in other areas, but so our persons crime, we went up to 242 from 208 the previous year. Our property crime went up 267 from 235. Our attempted theft of motor vehicles actually went down from 19 from 23 the previous year. Our break-and-enters went down 56 this year to 66 last year. Our mischiefs went down from 186 to 170. Our traffic violations, previous year was 434, this year was 316. Our traffic collisions tripled. They went from 13 to 35 this quarter. Our impaireds went down from 34 last year to 22. Our municipal bylaws went down from 21 the previous year to 13 this year. Our federal and provincial statutes went from 370 to 328. Other criminal code went from 355 to 330. Prisoners went down by a couple from 374 to 369. And our common police activities went from 685 to 709. Asking around, the persons crimes and property crimes are what's, I was asking our members what could what's the reasoning for it, and there is really no reasoning. We can get 3 or 4 in a day, and then we might go a day without an assault. Or property crimes pretty much regular, but the assaults is what's, we can't figure out why it's going up. During this quarter, Inspector Peddle also wanted us to mention that we've been to many community events. We attended the RCMP 150 barbecue at the Treehorn Detachment. We also did the COPP RCMP Appreciation Luncheon. We attended the COPP golf tournament. We attended the Canada Day ceremony at Stride Place. We attended the Hillside Cemetery to lay Canadian flags on the graves. We attended the opening ceremonies at the Portage Fair. We attended the Delta Beach AGM. Communities in Bloom luncheon was attended. We attended a Discovery Patch meeting. I had to ask around for that one. I never did get an answer what that was. Inspector Peddle was there. We had members of participate in the World Police and Fire Games. We attended community safety and well-being planning meetings. Attended a veterans dinner at the Legion. Attended the Cenotaph in Portage for the naming ceremony. We attended the flag raising ceremony at City Hall to recognize National Truth and Reconciliation Week. We attended First Responders Night at Southport, and we attended meetings with the Portage la Prairie School Division. We've also paired up with the fire department recently to have an exercise with a plane crash or a helicopter crash at Southport. So that went really well. With bylaw, their calls have probably gone up because we use them more. We're going to the same houses over and over. So we're basically bringing bylaw in to try and alleviate some of the issues at these houses. So other than that, that's pretty much it for the report. So.
Good. Anybody have questions for Sergeant Turco?
Thank you, Sergeant Turco. I just had a question. What would fall under the category of common police activities?
That can be anywhere from serving subpoenas, well-being checks. Someone hasn't heard from a relative in 3-4 days, we'll go check to make sure they're okay. Doing court duties, doing transporting prisoners. It's a little bit of everything.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Sergeant Turco, we had, obviously last week was a busy week in our community with different things happening. Congratulations on good work on catching that most wanted person, which was great in our community. But we did have a incident that made the news nationally of a machete incident, and I know you probably can't comment a lot on open investigations, but just your thoughts and feelings when public's involved, if you can say anything.
Yeah, that was it was a sad incident. Two victims are random. The one victim was known to the two offenders who were very, very young. The offenders have been involved with us quite a bit, so we're getting Child and Family Services involved, the school, trying to get everyone involved to obviously steer these kids away from what's happening. But yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to that one. Like I said, the one victim was well known to him, and the other two were just random attacks. So we're just happy we caught him, and they're in the court system now. So
Good. So would you have a message to public at all on this?
just hopefully parents get involved more with their children. Again, I think they were 13 and 14 years old. Yeah. So we'd like to see more parent involvement. Like I said, these two offenders are well known to us. So hopefully, like I said, this is an eye-opener to them. We just appreciate the public's assistance on this one, because without them, we wouldn't have got, like I said, they always help us, and we're able to arrest them, locate them, and arrest them. So
Quickly. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
And just a comment, and I know the frustration that we constantly feel when people are arrested and released and whatever that looks like. And so just a commitment from our council is that we have a new government coming in who we're going to push some of these messages to them, to the Crown, et cetera, of some of these things happening, because when it's random, it's very frustrating, and maybe some of these things can be stopped in other ways. So
absolutely.
yeah, thank you. Mr. Pito?
I just wanted to ask, publicly thank Sergeant Turco. Following that incident, we had a meeting and we talked about some of the weapons used in that incident. And Sergeant Turco and myself went and spoke to a few of the businesses that carry those types of tools. And they voluntarily ensured that they were restricted or held behind glass, or they're going to discontinue selling them. So having Sergeant Turco there speaking to the business owners, I think, was very helpful, and hopefully restricts those types of tools in using them in that way.
Good. Awesome. Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation, Sergeant Turco. Just a small question. Just municipal bylaws. I know it's not a big part of your work, and I know municipalities always want you to enforce their bylaws, but you do a bit of that here in our city. Where is the line between what our bylaw people do and when you get involved in enforcing municipal bylaws?
It all depends on what's occurring that day. If we have 3 or 4 assaults in a row, we're not going to obviously do a municipal bylaw. We have to deal with the person's crimes, but we're calling bylaw right away. They're usually on scene right away, and between the two of us, we either lay a charge, warnings, or whatever we find appropriate. But we do lay charges like late at night. We find people parking the wrong way or parking where they shouldn't be. We do lay the tickets. So just like I said, it all depends on what's happening that day.
Just follow up, Your Worship. So, like last, I raised one time about like in a dangerous situation, bylaw people go there and it's a tense situation, and you're called upon by them. Is that another example of where this would be included in your stats? Like somebody's very upset with their messy yard or parked cars or whatever, and they don't want to comply. You feel you have a good rapport to respond to those kind of things if it looks like it's going to be an escalated
Absolutely.
situation?
We touch base with Kyle. He'll call us. We'll call him. Saying we're going to this house. Here's what's happening. You mind coming along? Fire department, same thing. So, yeah, it's always open communication. It's just a phone call away, and they always attend. We'll attend with them if we have to keep the peace. That's one of the general public things, is keeping the peace. We just show up to make sure nothing's really going to happen. So, yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. And just to note, Council, the second quarter report there is for you to read as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That ends my new business.
Thank you. There's no items of old business, so we will adjourn council at 6:35, and we will move right into committee. call committee to order at 6:35 p.m. We will start with Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship and colleagues. In your package, you have the issue here is that we have to set a date for the 2024 annual tax sale. Tax sale bylaw 208708 requires council's approval to set the tax sale date annually, and administration is recommending the tax sale date be Monday, September 16th, 2024 for outstanding property taxes for 2022. The city has a contract with tax service to complete the necessary work to prepare for the tax sale, including arrangements for the auction should property owners fail to pay applicable year's outstanding taxes before the auction commences. And I think we all recognize that the circumstances in this can cause property owners to fall behind in their payments, and I must say the city does everything in their power to work with property owners at their request to initiate an agreement to be moved from the tax sale for the current year. And you know, agreements are usually consist of mutually agreed upon payment plan designed to pay off arrears and balances. And one thing that I checked with administration, you know, last year we set a tax sale date, and I'm pleased to say that all properties were settled prior to the tax sale for that year. So everybody was up to date in their payments. I think that's a credit to our staff for trying to work with our citizens when they have a financial problem and dealing with their taxes. So kudos to our administration on that. The administrative recommendation is that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the 2024 tax sale date of September 16th, 2024 for real property with the 2022 property taxes outstanding.
And you'll move that at the next council meeting?
I'll move that at the next council meeting.
Perfect.
You're in committee. Yes. That's why you're the mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on that before I move it on? Okay, great. Councillor Massey?
This is for committee, so you'll be, this is a proposal, a request from the Public Art Committee to amend their spending ability. Prior to 2008, Portage and Area Beautification Committee was made up of the city, the RM, and the chamber. And when it was dissolved in 2008, they entrusted the city with the remaining funds to implement their final projects. A large portion of the money was spent as intended, with approximately $127,000 left held in reserve. So what the proposal is here is to allow, and this will be for the next council meeting, to allow them to, we had a number of conditions on a previous resolution of council. There was a maximum of $25,000 to be spent in any calendar year, and they had to raise a minimum of 20% from outside sources. So the proposal here for that will be coming to your next council meeting is to remove those conditions from resolution 2017-0221 and to allow $100,000 to be used for on one project with no requirement that outstanding outside funding be obtained. So this will be brought up at the next council meeting, but that's the proposal from and the request from the Public Art Committee.
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions on that, anybody? We'll move into City Planning and Economic Development. A couple of items. Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, next council meeting, I'll be bringing forward a proposal, excuse me, to subdivide a couple of lots. It's really not a subdivision as per se, but follows the same thing. It's more of a boundary realignment. So just so you're aware, what the applicants are trying to do is to realign the boundaries, some existing property, by consolidating an adjacent property owned by some different individuals. The current driveway does encroach on the neighbor's property, and of course the applicant is trying to resolve it by alleviating the encroachment. There's no changes in services or access, nothing changes there, but it's just the commencement of the process. When we get to it, you'll realize that, or you'll understand that it is consistent with the development plan and does meet the provincial criteria. Community planning has conditionally approved it, the subdivision application, but the applicant must obtain municipal approval prior to completing the other conditions of the subdivision. So if there's any questions now, we can walk through them. If not, that will be coming up through council at the November the 14th meeting. Is that the right date? Yeah, sorry, November the 14th council meeting.
Yep. Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you. We will move into Community Services Committee. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. It is time for the Parks Committee presentation, and through Your Worship, I'd like to welcome Melissa Draycott and Gord Zacharias.
If you'd like to state your name for the record.
Of course. Hello, everybody. I'm Melissa Draycott. So good evening. We would like to thank Council, Your Worship, and Administration for allowing us to attend this evening. Yay, thank you. Are you going to operate that for me? That would be great. Thank you so much. So the Parks Committee was recently at Council, and we did want to come back just to share some of our past projects that we didn't have a good opportunity to go through, as well as our current skate park status and future priorities with you. So a quick review of who the Portage la Prairie Parks Committee is and what our contribution to the community has been up to this point. The Portage la Prairie Parks Committee started with members of PCRC, City Councillor Ryan Espy, and community member Melissa Draycott, myself. And we started a conversation over 10 years ago about creating a splash pad in Portage la Prairie. So this was something that was on my mind because I had small children at the time. Councillor Espy was actually working on the same project at the exact same time and had connected with PCRC. So we all got word of it and got together at Tornadoes Restaurant, had a coffee, and discussed what future projects might look like. We quickly formed the Parks Committee and extended an invitation to others with a similar desire to create and maintain green spaces in our community. We were joined by Dave Green, former City Parks employee, Jean-Marc Nadeau, former city manager, and some other community members. The committee began the process of pricing out and considering some options for a splash pad somewhere central in Portage la Prairie. We also took the opportunity to consider existing green spaces in our community. Along with PCRC, we held several community events and asked for feedback from community members about parks and green spaces and what might be missing from our local parks. We took an inventory of existing equipment, and we heard from parents that places to sit and activities for small children were definitely lacking in our parks that existed. So with the assistance of Mr. Green, we were able to add park benches and tables to various green spaces, and we were able to get funding from the Portage Community Foundation to add toddler equipment. So that's our toddler equipment. We added various pieces to 5 different parks that currently existed in the community. And we worked with the Portage la Prairie School Division to add pieces to 2 school playgrounds as well. Through collaboration with Active Transportation, we added new walking paths in the northeast corner of the city, as well as a new basketball court and upgrades to Prospita Park Court as well. At the time, there was a significant fund, upwards of $270,000 within the city reserve for future parks and green space development. We worked with the city manager to create a plan, and a feasibility study was developed with an outside company for the build and budget of a splash pad to be located at 5th Avenue and 3rd Street Northwest. That location housed the Kinsman Hall at the time, which was not in viable condition anymore. A large wooden play structure that was a little bit scary, and it wasn't in good shape for use for children at the moment. So the city received a feasibility study back, and it came with a very overinflated price tag. Unfortunately, the committee wasn't included in the study for our input into that park. The Parks Committee attended the March 10th, 2014 meeting and asked for the approval of that plan. That was our first meeting with City Council. It was voted on in camera and denied by the majority of council, later claiming that there were enough water features, available to the community already. Council further added a clause to the existing reserve money to no longer allow that reserve to be used for any water features in the north end of Portage la Prairie, and would not be willing to entertain a future proposal for a freestanding splash pad with any part of that feature above ground. So the Parks Committee went back to square one. The committees continued to consult with community members to determine other upgrades that were needed in the city's parks and green spaces. We heard loud and clear that free water activities were still a #1 request from our community, followed very closely by a skate park. Connections were made with Portage Skate Park Committee, an existing group in the community that was also trying to accomplish the dream of building a new skate park. Our two organizations came together to form a plan to accomplish both dreams in one location while working together instead of battling for the same fundraising opportunities. Next slide, please. As a newly cohesive, larger committee, we began to look at the whole green space located at 5th Avenue and 3rd Street Northwest as a potential recreation hub. Emphasis was placed on bringing many different people to a larger space that could be used for many different things. This would clean up an area, a small green space with a derelict building, and a large gravel parking lot. The committee decided to look at other water features that didn't fall under splash pad title and settled on an interactive water feature. Fundraising began again. A new study took place with the city manager, with Scatliff, Miller, and Murray, creating a new recreational hub in 2017 in August. That plan included a water feature, accessible playground, skate park, toboggan hill, walking paths, community garden boxes, a park pavilion or rain shelter, public art components, and a natural bioswale. The new recreation plan was presented to a new city council in 2017 with a price tag of $2.5 million. With another grant from the Community Foundation of Portage and District and the hard work of individuals at PCRC, the accessible playground was installed in 2017 in the fall. Fundraising continued with donations coming in from community members, businesses, and organizations. Sorry, Jen, I went really fast here. Simplot came on board as the naming rights sponsor for the park and assisted with the first party in the park, offering activities and French fries for free to a largely attended community event. McCain's joined in with a significant donation for naming rights for the interactive water feature and attended the second party in the park along with Simplot for an even larger event. Cash donations were given at the party, as well as donations from Fuel Up Day and multiple Smile Cookie Day events. The Parks Committee continued to look at how to accomplish a water feature, and after requesting some additional quotes, it was decided that there was enough money raised through the McCain Interactive Water Feature, which broke ground in the spring of 2020. It was a much needed activity for kids during COVID. The Parks Committee was excited to add an artistic touch with a local artist having animal prints and silhouettes painted on the feature. The feature is open May long to September long weekend, and there are families enjoying that accessible playground and the McCain's interactive water feature daily throughout the whole summer. We are so happy to have accomplished this project with the assistance of the city and everyone that supported us through an 8-year journey. Simplot Central Park is used by a variety of organizations for summer camps and day events, as well as local daycares, families, and just individuals looking to beat the summer heat. And that would bring me to Mr. Zach Rice. He's going to give you an update on where we are for the skate park.
Right. Well, thank you, councillors and your worship. I'd like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. I'd just like to give you a brief overview of the beautiful skate park that is currently being constructed and how we arrived at the design that we have. The current skate pad that is located outside the BDO Center has filled a gap for skaters and scooterers and BMXers for many years, but it has always struggled with a lot of drawbacks. The design is haphazard with no flow between obstacles. The surface is abrasive and unforgiving to fall on. And lastly, the obstacles are placed there in a way that they don't really allow for progression of riders and skaters from beginner to expert. As a perpetual beginner myself, who followed my son from skate park to skate park around the province, I can attest that the current skate pad has exactly 0 obstacles that I can get on or over, with no prospect of ever achieving any of those goals. But that's another story. The park we have designed at Simplot Central Park is the opposite. The longtime champion of this park, Steve Hildebrand, consulted widely to determine what we needed in Portage. He brought together a mix of skaters and scooterers and BMXers. He brought together beginners and advanced riders. He brought together the old guard of guys who did most of their riding 20 years ago with teenagers who are the current skate scene, all to talk about what we needed in Portage. The result is a park that has flow. It has opportunities to learn and progress. It has logical traffic lines to enhance safety. It has a variety of obstacles for every riding preference, and it is made of smooth, forgiving concrete that you can slide on when you fall. And if you don't believe that that's true, just slide on the current skate pad and let me know what happens. If you look at the diagram, I don't know if we have it up there or not. Well, you can see some of the progress there.
Keep going. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. You'll see that the skate park has rails and ledges, hubbas and stair sets for advanced riders. There's also gentle rollers, gradual banks, 2 manual pads, 2 small quarter pipes at each end, and 2 generous flat plaza areas for newbies to try new tricks and experiment with new things. Even I could ride there without getting hurt. The park also features long flow lines with changes in elevation that allow riders to maintain their speed as they go from obstacle to obstacle. It's designed to encourage back and forth traffic flow rather than a lot of random traffic. Parks that encourage a lot of crisscrossing traffic tend to have more problems with collisions. Rotary Skate Park will not be one of those parks. I'd also like to draw your attention to a really unique feature of the Portage Rotary Skate Park. In our design, the north end of the park, just up here, butts up against a 10-foot hill, roughly 10 feet. That is yet to be constructed, but I'm told sometime this week. The hill will provide leisure opportunities during the summer and safe sledding for countless kids in the neighborhood during our long winters. It will also allow urban snowboarders to drop into the north end of the skate park and hit a rail or a ledge. This is a really cool thing. It's a feature that we've not seen in any other skate park in Manitoba. We're really proud of the design and couldn't be more pleased with the final product that's emerging before our eyes in the last few weeks. So as we add the finishing touches of landscaping and paths and lighting and benches and other amenities, Simplot Central Park and Rotary Skate Park will be 2 spectacular additions to our great city, and I thank you for letting me talk to you about it.
But I'm not done talking yet. All right. So our priority in the spring, we're so excited. The pictures that you see up there were taken last week, and the park is even better today than it was when these pictures were taken, because I had to get this report in so that you could have access to it. So the park is just coming together so well, and the builder has been really great. There's been open communication with the city and the builders, and it's just been a great process to get the skate park done. And Mother Nature has been really blessing us so far to get as far as we have with the skate park this year. So it's almost done. The priority in the spring is landscaping the area. We would like to accomplish that as soon as possible to ensure that mud and dirt isn't tracked onto the skate park and to reduce the amount of erosion in the area. We do acknowledge that there are future items to be included. Lighting in the area is very, very important to us. That would deter any unwanted activity and promote a safe space for park patrons. Lighting becomes super important in the winter months for kids using the hill for tobogganing, as the daily amount of daylight decreases so much. So we do want lighting to go in fairly soon so that it's a safe space. Our original plan for Simplot Central Park included plans for a washroom facility. However, a washroom wasn't a requirement when we changed a splash pad to just a water feature. We do recognize that a washroom facility would be very desirable in this city park where people gather to spend a large amount of time, just like Island Park and Rotary Republic Park. We would like to avoid any unnecessary elimination, so a bathroom makes a lot of sense in that area. We would also like to expand pathways to access the different features of the park on a path. So that would increase accessibility for our users, which has always been a focus for us when we were planning and creating this area. And being a good neighbor and establishing a barrier or a fence between Simplot Central Park and the properties of the east of the park would also be desirable. As well, we would like to see some trees and benches and planter boxes throughout. Planter boxes would allow for individuals to have a garden box in the area. This idea has been put in place on Saskatchewan Avenue and assists in a very small way, but in a way for food security for individuals. And finally, there is a dream of a picnic shelter or an amphitheater that was included in the original plans of Simplot Central Park. This would allow for a shaded seating area for users of the park to gather. Fundraising is ongoing for this recreation hub. We continue to seek donations from businesses and individuals. Some of our future items are still things that could have an in-kind possibility for local businesses as well. And if the City Council has any capability or interest in assisting us finishing touches of our green space, we would be grateful for anything as a committee. We do want to thank administration for their assistance so far with this very large project, as well as the other upgrades that we've accomplished over the past decade in other parks across the community. And we look forward to continuing to invest and grow green spaces in our community. I think that we can agree that the investment that this very small committee has made in Portage la Prairie has had a very large impact. And we're grateful for all of the support that we have received to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions of the Parks Committee? I have a couple of things. Thank you so much for presenting. I'm not sure if Councillor Espy communicated this with you, but this was stemmed from the fact that we as a council were having some discussions and really realized that that not everyone around the table was aware of the history of the Parks Committee, and that, you know, it's important that we make sure that we do that. So I would encourage you also to do this every year to us to make sure that we're up to date on what's happening with the Parks Committee. Would be great. Also, I'm curious because I know you're a committee of 5 that are appointed through the city. Is your committee bigger than that, or is there opportunities for citizens to get involved?
Yes. So we have 5 people appointed through the city that have been standing members for long term. But we do have community members involved as well and part of our committee. I don't know off the top of my head how many people, but I want to say up to 10.
Okay.
We try to have a monthly meeting, which was always in person before COVID. But now we do meet over Zoom a lot. Our committee members expand into another province at the time still. And so we want to ensure that we're able to have everybody involved. So we do still meet over Zoom, but there's always opportunity for other people to join our committee. It's a very light requirement. Like I said, it's a monthly meeting, and we do like to have different people from different walks of life, different experiences to join the committees so that there's involvement and more freedom to have different opinions. So
that's awesome. Congratulations on your fundraising. I would say to Mr. Zacharias that when we stood in the parking lot there. I don't think you or I even thought that this would be happening this year. So fabulous job on your fundraising. And then just want to make you aware of always remember too that our administration is there to assist you for advice. So I know like our city manager is involved in other community groups and always there to offer advice and help along the way. But there is a tremendous communities grant up to $10,000 you could apply for. So it's for trees for the park. I can send you the link.
I would love the information on that.
Yeah.
I would say our fundraising this year, over the last 2 years, our fundraising has been greatly accomplished by Rachel Templeton with PCRC. She is an asset to this community, and her grant writing skills are amazing.
Fabulous.
She's done a great job.
Great. And I do think the snowboarding is a great asset too, for sure. Kids are excited when they hear that, so that's great. Anybody else? Councillor Doyle?
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to say I really loved when I received it by email, reading through it, getting to know the history on the Parks Committee, the good and the bad, and what's in store moving forward. And I really zoomed into the skate park design numerous times. I just think it's going to be a great thing for our city. So thank you.
I've spent plenty of hours in these four walls, and I would say one of my favorite memories is the second time the Parks Committee came to council. The lineup of people was down the stairwell in support of a splash pad. It was just an incredible thing to experience, and it was great because we didn't give up. We just kept on going and pivoted and made it work. And I think what we have is a little different than what we were looking at in terms of a splash pad, but I don't think that it's any less. I think it's well utilized for what we have.
Lots of smiling faces there in the summer, so for sure. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Councillor S., or we're just going to take a little skip back to Councillor Meyer for a minute, if we could. Yep.
Your worship, or do you want
Yes,
to delay that until after?
No, we'll go back.
Okay. What were we talking about? Sorry, I lost. Once again, congratulations there, guys. That Parks Committee gets me excited. I'm going to do a little half piping later on tonight with City Manager, Mr. Pito. So hopefully the project is done, that we can get there, Gord. I trust it is. Okay, good. Council in front of you, actually, in addition to, in fact, it's funny because we're talking about recreation and that. And next council meeting, which again is November the 14th, I will be bringing forward a recreational use lease. This is related to the junkyard dogs. If you remember, we did have a presentation back a while ago in relationship to we'll call it the old garbage dump hill, and the project that they want to go forward with. I know that there's been some delays. We did find a bit of an issue in relationship to actually who owned the land, and I know that we've worked through some of those details right now. But what I want to bring back, or what I want to bring to council next one, is a lease for a recreational use for lots 2 and 4. You will see in your package that there is the map of exactly the area that we're talking about, in addition to a copy of the actual lease itself. So right here, September 2023, the province approved a 5-year recreational use lease agreement for lots 2 and 4, Plan 928, as outlined in Schedule A of the agreement, for a portion of the bike park and the trail system. Some of the highlights are there, but the full lease is there for your perusal as well. So if you have any questions now, certainly feel free to ask administration, and if not, we will bring it forward to a council meeting, next council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. We are going to be a recreation hub in the province soon with all these activities. Awesome. Back to you, Councillor Espy.
Oh, I just did have one question on it, if I could, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Sorry, thank you. I just have one question in regards to the actual lease agreement. This is only one of the bullet points, but it says the city agrees to remove all structures, alterations, and improvements to the property prior to returning the property to the province. Now, I really don't see that happening, but I just did want to ask our administration, because the junkyard dogs spend innumerable amount of money, dollars, and will spend an innumerable amount of money and dollars on this project. if they build some structures there, and if something changes and it does go back, what do we have to do with that property there?
Through your worship to Councillor Meyer, so the parcels as you identified in Schedule B, you will see basically two parcels that are along the provincial roadway. So this project's divided into two components, the parcels that are mentioned in this 5-year agreement, and then the larger hill, which is actually an annual agreement. In the agreement, you're correct, it does mention a requirement to remediate the land if we were to cancel the lease or the end of the lease occurs. I'm not concerned on this component because the components that are next to the road won't have any significant structures on it. So you might have a rock barrier in terms of trying to prevent vehicle traffic from going onto the hill, and there may be some small earthworks. But in terms of actual structures in the plan of Junkyard Dogs, I'm not aware in their plan of having any construction on those two parcels. When it comes to the larger parcel that's renewed annually, that clause is somewhat different, and I believe it protects the city's interest as the leasee.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next up is a public art proposal. So through Your Worship, I would like to invite Stephanie Dunn to speak on this.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Mayor Knox Kennedy says hi.
Thank you. Hi, Kennedy.
Yes, after many years deliberating and seeking out proposals and trying to find a suitable project to invest these funds in, we have settled on a final proposal. It has been put forward by Kevin McKenzie. Kevin identifies as Cree and Métis. He is not only an artist but an assistant professor at Brandon University. He has created a significant installation at Brandon University, actually, that is sort of his representation of a portion of truth and reconciliation through his eyes. And so we've selected this artist that we'd like to bring this proposal forward to you. Scale is very important when looking at this. So the vertical planes are 5 feet wide. The tallest apex will measure 30 feet. The opposite plane is 18 feet, and the two flanking planes are 24 feet. So again, this is going to be quite a large installation, very impactful, as well as his message. So he has worked with Can Steel Manufacturing before, and that is his choice to assist him in the creation of this. To him, the artistic direction of this piece is to create harmony and balance out of chaos. Truth and reconciliation means different things to different people. It can be an abstract notion, if you will. This is in the artist's words. His father is a survivor of the Lebret Capel Indian Industrial Residential School. So, you know, I feel like this piece is really powerful. It's Mr. McKenzie's voice and him working through some of his own personal family emotions on truth and reconciliation. So we felt that it was significant and that he was the right choice for this. We have discussed the location with with Parks Committee. They've indicated in that blue X where they feel it would be best suited in terms of any future development or future projects. There were a couple questions when we have brought it forward to the Parks Committee that I have addressed privately through correspondence, but I'd like to just bring those forward now just to address them all. So safety, obviously, this is going to be made out of Corten steel, which is a high copper, which has a high copper content. So Can Steel Manufacturing would be adding a 1-inch square tubing welded along the outside of the vertical side plates. That's not only for safety, but that's actually for structural integrity as well. So no sharp edges. any potential vandalism, conventional cleaner should work. If not, you could do a little sandblast. And this actual type of steel it's a weathering steel, so it's actually made to develop a layer of rust, which it will stop at a certain point, but it's actually made to, so it's pretty immune to the elements. A little sandblast, and you might be able to see the area in which it was compromised, but it would develop that patina on the area in question. In terms of anyone, I don't know, kicking it, taking a hammer to it, I don't know. You would need a cutting torch to do any damage. A sledgehammer whack would not dent. And actually the design is flexible and is supposed to absorb the energy and vibrate instead. So that could be a really neat party trick. Indigenous consultation. Cornell Pache, in his previous role, had given committee his blessing on the project. Mary Kozar serves on our committee, and so she brought it to Aaron Pierre, who is now in that role. He thought the piece was very culturally appropriate. He loved the location, and he thought that the apex structure would symbolize different cultural backgrounds, and that it was also exciting that the piece would likely be captured in the background of many skateboard and snowboarding videos. Again, a neat little party trick for us to have. Signage. There was a question of signage just to indicate the significance of the piece and the meaning. Kevin has come in under our indicated budget, so there will be ample wiggle room to add signage. So we had do you want me to talk about dollars and cents? Dollars and cents?
Talk away.
Yeah? Okay. We currently have a balance of $92,558.36 in the Portage Public Art Committee account. We had given Mr. McKenzie an $80,000 budget, which would save about $10,000 for a legacy fund for unexpected costs, ongoing maintenance, potential upkeep down the line. And he came in under cost at, I don't have that number right here, roughly $63,000. So we're very pleased, and we're very, very proud to present this this proposal to you. We are really excited to spend the funding, and we feel that this piece is very appropriate for the time and age we're living in, and also would just, add value to a piece of Portage that has had a significant impact on people's lives.
Sorry, my computer's talking to me.
I can compete with her.
I know.
Don't try me. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes.
I said a lot of things. We're very excited to bring this to you. We feel it has a significant impact, and we feel the location is appropriate given that it's also Simplot Park is celebrated as a hub for recreation and a very inclusive place in our city, and so we feel that this would be a really, really appropriate addition.
Thank you. Just a quick question. You said your balance was what, 92?
92,558 and 36 cents.
63, so 30,000. Okay. Any questions for Councillor Doyle?
Thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. The model shows a reddish color to it. Is that painted, or is that the high copper content of the steel that gives it that color?
Yeah, this is a plywood mock-up that Mr. McKenzie presented to us. So he did paint it red, and that is sort of to indicate the natural color that it would develop.
Okay, perfect. And my second question is, I've been playing Where's Waldo here on this map. Where is the blue X?
Oh.
Oh, I don't. Okay, I don't have it in front of me here, so.
It's on the next one there.
There.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Real clear there.
So yeah, so it's a raw, heavy steel that will patina into rust color. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Stephanie, for your presentation. My question is, I know you've done a lot of good consultation with our Indigenous partners and parks and so on. And, you know, public art is often, you know, when it gets to the public stage, everyone has an opinion on about art. And have you run just the look and the proposal just by some other community people just that might give you some opinion, you know, because I know when some municipalities have done public art and then everybody sometimes can be in an uproar about it and say, well, who approved this? Or, you know, and I have no problem with what you're proposing, but have you given this to, or looked at it from any other community members that might, and I don't know who they would be, but anybody in the community that give you an opinion on it?
We have not. This was just within our committee, which we feel is fairly well rounded and well represented. Having worked with artists for the last 3.5 years, I would agree with you that there could be too many cooks in the kitchen. Were we to open it to public comment, but of course that would be if that's the direction that council would like us to take it, we can certainly make that feasible. We felt it best to make a singular proposal to council with our invested interest in it, in the project.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Worship, and maybe I could just quickly help address that. For those that aren't aware, the Public Art Committee is made up of a variety of different committee involvement. PCRC, that certainly has a social aspect to it. I know that there would have been conversations would have taken place within there. The Chamber of Commerce, so there could have been conversations that could have taken place within the business community as well. I know City Council has a representative on it as well that can kind of bring it back and round, as well as the Prairie Fusion. Sorry, yes, Prairie Fusion as well, which really is the arts basis on there as well. So the committee, when it was originally appointed, was appointed specifically to address that community issue, and I do believe that there are a lot of voices that were already at the table there, Councillor Massey, and I work from there. So, thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I think Councillor Massey's question is warranted, but I know art is subjective. So if you put it out to you would definitely have some yays and nays. So I think the meaning and the artist chosen, you guys have been very thoughtful about. So I think that that's good news. And so then the decision will come back to council. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Councillor Espy.
Most of my favorite groups are presenting here tonight, and the next one is no exception. We have a Communities in Bloom presentation from Mary Kozar and Kathy McFarlane.
Good evening. Was able to bring a couple of members of our committee with us today. So some of this has already been revealed in the media, but we did know that councillors would like to look at some of the criteria that the judges looked at and some of their suggestions for future improvements. Even though we're almost perfect, it's always good to be a little bit better in future, kind of thing. So Nathan is handing around the full evaluation report. We won't be going over the report tonight. We'll be going over the highlights only. So that's for your interesting reading later. So we have participated as the city of Portage la Prairie in the provincial program since 2019. Last year there was no provincial program. Things with COVID impacted this program as well. and we participated nationally, but we were fortunate to be able to go back to the provincial program this year, which I think is very meaningful for us because we're, I'm not sure if I should say competing, but we're certainly being judged against other communities who have very similar topography to ourselves. There is 6 categories, and this is important because it's not all about the flowers. A lot of people think it's about the flowers, and maybe they need to change the name from Communities in Bloom. But community appearance is one, environmental action, tree management, landscape, plant and floral design, and heritage conservation. And so just to make that point, and the fact that we have committee members here, is we have a very small committee, but the role of our committee is to showcase what everybody is doing here in the community. And you've heard reports from many of them tonight. And so we are really representing the entire community's efforts. And we do want to make a special thanks to the Public Works staff who did a great job. We had a very challenging year with no rain to speak of, and keeping the grass cut and the weeds down and whatever else type of thing. Businesses did a great job of keeping their property looking tidy, and bylaw did a great job of making sure that happened. So we have Lorna Knight, who was with PCRC, and we have somebody else coming on new. So Communities in Bloom, the committee is under the umbrella of PCRC, and the funding for the committee comes within the budget of PCRC. Yvette Cuthbert is one of our members, Lynn White, and I always get the pronunciation wrong, but it's Berna McDermott, and myself are all members of that committee. But really, everybody here is a member of that committee because you're all doing a part of it. For the community appearance, what they said about that is that there was very little graffiti, and I think our green team that we have at PCRC is really, if something happens, they are right on top of that. I even got on top of that over at the duck pond. We had a challenge. I was back and forth to the paint store a few times trying to match up the composite on the deck where somebody had added. I'm not even sure what that word is. I'm very uninformed as to what that is.
I'm sure it was a compliment.
I'm sure it was, yes. Litter, not any litter. Great impressions on Saskatchewan, and we know that will even get better once the construction is done. So I'm not going to go over every point there, but they said continue to work with your volunteer groups and expand. One of the other groups mentioned that about having other people on their committee and adding different perspectives. And so we're always interested in that is, let's just not look at what that person only wants to do. Some people might think I'm all about the flowers, and I'm not really, but it looks that way. And so we need other people that have other things under their bailiwick to talk about as well. Environmental action is becoming a very important role for Communities in Bloom, as it is for everywhere. We did take them for a tour at our recycling plant, and that was very interesting. I'd actually never been on a tour of the recycling plant and all the different things that we recycle here. And we also do a lot of recycling here on behalf of a lot of small communities within Manitoba. In fact, one of the judges that we had here, Shirley Kalnick, is the mayor of the town of Rossburn. And Rossburn does send some of their recycling here. The composting site they looked at, it's really hard within a one-day tour to get them to see everything. And Lorna did a great job of taking them around and trying to do the highlights of everything. I think a lot of people take things for granted in our community, the fact that you can get compost for free at our composting site. I've lived many different communities in Manitoba. I've never gotten it for free. So that's great. And the wood chips that we get, we use the wood chips at the Rotary duck pond in order to control some of the vegetation growth there, especially with all the new perennials there. And so when they asked, or when they said, you know, what are things that you could look at for improvement, they said, you look at other things that can do alternative energy sources. And so there's many things out there, and there's things that we don't even know of yet that we can do. So that is probably not within the bailiwick of our community, of our committee to do. We won't be putting up any windmills or solar panels on PRRA, but maybe the city will do that one day too. Nathan's laughing because I keep bugging him about that. And there was a couple of other things. They mentioned about rainwater collection, and what I didn't know, and Mary mentioned it to me later, is one of the schools actually has a program for that. So that's one of those things. I don't know everything about the community, and so when the judges are here, we try to encompass everything, but having more information is good for them as well.
And it is hard to catch everything. I don't think we highlighted the food cycler pilot program either that council implemented, which I think they would have been really happy about.
That's true. Tree management, that's something that Kyle Troop and Adam over at the city, we usually have them talking to the judges about that. And they've given us a few ideas on that. We have a lot of trees within our community, and we're fortunate to have partners like Jeffries, Solomon's, Norquay that help us out with a lot of those things. I'm going to turn it over to Mary now.
Sure. So Communities in Bloom had scored us very high this year. So our landscape area, they were very happy with our green spaces, our network of pathways for active transportation, numerous benches, murals, and street art. The causeway, they were very happy with. So these two particular judges came in 2019, and so they were actually able to see the progress that we've made on lots of things. They were also very happy with the duck pond. That wasn't finished in 2019, I believe. The redevelopment of Saskatchewan Avenue, they were very excited about and brought it up in multiple categories. They did encourage continued development of active transportation, but we know there's ongoing work through the Active Transportation Committee on that. And they did suggest an interpretive walk through forest in conjunction with the Cocoa Platts Community Rec Center. And then the plant and floral displays. One thing to note on this slide is that typically we receive an improvement area for this for more thriller and spiller for our planters, and this is the first year we did not receive that. So the planters did look really good this year, and they had lots of greenery and flowers coming out of them, which Communities in Bloom loves to see. They were happy with the baskets and the Holiday Avenue project work that also happens on the avenue. They did say that we could plant more native prairie wildflowers and some different things, but there's always areas for improvement, and we scored quite high on this. They were happy with our controlment of the purple loosestrife. So that is like an invasive plant that can harm wildlife. Our heritage conservation, we scored very high. We were the only community to highlight Indigenous culture in the tour in Manitoba, which we thought was very interesting. And they recognized that it was well celebrated here. They were happy to hear that the former residential school is now a museum. They thought Fort Lorraine Museum was fascinating, and they were happy with the number of heritage trees in Island Park. And areas for improvement, they said we could highlight more cultural diversity by planning an annual event or activity, which we actually do when we do our anti-racism Together for Change Week every year. So that could be an area to highlight. And then QR codes to link information on historical buildings. That's also in the works with the app being developed, and there will be lots of tourism information that can be added to that for improvement too. And then they also suggested looking into funding to protect the preservation of Fort Lorraine Museum. And we know that Fort Lorraine Museum does excellent work in maintaining sustainability and working on new projects. So our overall evaluation was that the judges enjoyed the Indigenous drumming. They thought we had impressive planning and a presentation of the West End Saskatchewan Avenue project. They thought the tour was well organized and showcased many assets of the community. And they were very happy with the Douglas Campbell Lodge garden plots that families can get involved with when they have a family member there and still garden when they have members of their family in the care home. And they scored us at 83% or 5 blooms, which we have never received before. So we do have a certificate to present to you, Your Worship. And we are happy to answer any questions you may have about the report.
Doesn't Councillor Porter?
I don't have a question, Your Worship. I just have a comment. And thank you, Marie, and thank you, Kathy, for that. So, Your Worship, I looked up on the Manitoba site or on the website what the vision of the Community of Blooms is. And what it is to inspire all communities to enhance the quality of life and our environment to create community pride. Councillor Massey, Councillor Meyer, and myself attended the 2023 Communities in Bloom Awards for Manitoba, and thinking that we were giving out an award, but to only learn that we were actually receiving the award. 5 out of 5 blooms. So I would just at this time like to thank our community board members from our area, Lorna Knight, a former member, Yvette Cuthbert, Lynn White, and of course, Verna McDonald, and of course, our chair of the committee, Kathy McFarland. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Nope. Just congratulations for all your hard work. I was able to talk there for your information in the afternoon, and it was also interesting to see the experts that we have in our community on different things, like Mr. Ronald, who's the tree expert. I think I'm looking at those recommendations there, and some of the things that they say we're recommending, like you said, we're already doing. So next year we'll maybe get 95%. So congratulations for all your hard work. 6 out of 5, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Worship. Just that if there's any of my colleagues that have anything to add for the Community Services Committee, now would be the time.
Perfect. I just would like to mention that today we had an exciting day at City Hall that we officially opened our accessible ramp, and City Hall is finally accessible on the main floor for those people who need that assistance. So it's been a long time coming. I don't actually remember when we first approved this project, But we learned that a building like this isn't the quickest to renovate. Um, Lots of hard work that happened, but we're very excited, and stay tuned for when we head into phase 2 eventually, and then our whole building will be accessible. Like I've said before, that it was really hard for us to encourage other businesses and organizations to become accessible when our building wasn't. So now we can say that we are. So well done, everybody, and thanks for um, definitely watching that project, to our city manager and Jocelyn for doing that. That's all I have on my list here, just making sure. And then just a quick reminder, almost forgot, Sunday, October 29th, it's accessible and haunted. So Haunted City Hall from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. 5 to 6:30 is light fright, and 6:30 to 8 p.m. is full fright. We should mention light fright still means spooky. So if you have children that you're going to bring it, or just chickens, that it is still scary the whole time through. Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has nothing for committee unless any of my colleagues have something that they'd like to share about our waterworks. See nothing, that would be it. Thank you.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation has nothing to report, but I do have a comment on the Saskatchewan roadway construction update. And in the final few weeks that we have left, that paving will start on between 10th and 12th, as well as 14th to 18th. They will be grinding down the older asphalt to make traffic safer during winter. And so we expect a lot of disruptions in this last little bit, but Maple Leaf Construction will continue to keep working around businesses and residents' access to get this completed, and looking forward to this part of the completion. So just want to thank everybody and the whole community for your patience. And we still have another week or two left, so please drive slow if we happen to get any winter conditions in the next couple weeks. And yeah, that's all. That's what I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe just a comment on that too, is that with the weather changing soon, is that there's going to be more information coming out on our snow removal in the next few weeks too. So I know people are asking. Great. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to say that last COPP meeting, we had a couple new members start, so which is a great thing to always get new members. And if anyone is interested in becoming a member of COPP, please see the RCMP detachment in town, and they will get you started on the registration process. I got an email from Rose Carrier, chair of COPP, and a bunch of the members had attended the provincial conference this past weekend. And all my email says is that there's some very exciting news with regards to the program. So our meeting is tomorrow night instead of next Tuesday, because it is Halloween next Tuesday. So I will let everyone know whatever that exciting news is next committee meeting. And I also just want to touch on something you had said, Mayor Knox, during our council meeting with regards to it being a busy week with regards to policing in our city. And I just want to remind everyone to just always be aware of your surroundings when you're out and about. Stay off your phone. Keep your earbuds out or your music down when you're out walking. Just be very aware of your surroundings. And if everyone could just keep an eye out for each other, it would definitely help things in the community if everyone's just keeping an eye out for each other. And that is all I have for committee. If anyone else has anything to add, please feel free to do so.
Thank you. Just one comment. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. I spent last week attending a community leaders camp through 13 Ways, out in Jasper, and Diane attended as well. And it was definitely a great learning experience. Lots of new ideas that I've come back with, and lots of opportunity to meet other municipal leaders from across the country. So I just wanted to say that I'm grateful for that opportunity. So thank you. And I'll have lots to share coming up. So we'll adjourn committee at 7:40 p.m. Thank you.